Welcome into University of Hoops, presented by Hudl, the show that gives you an inside look at the people making everything happen on your favorite basketball team. This episode is sponsored by Hudl. Are you ready to elevate your basketball game to the next level? Look no further than the Hudl Pro Suite, the ultimate resource for basketball coaches and athletes. From game footage breakdowns to scouting opponents, Hudl Pro Suite is your premier resource for dominating the court. And now, introducing our latest innovation, Hudl Instat for basketball. Elevate your understanding of the game with unparalleled data and visuals. Visit hudl.com/University of Hoops to learn more. That's hudl.com/University of Hoops. And today, we are very excited to welcome University of Houston head video coordinator Matthew McDonald. Matthew, welcome to the show.
And excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Excited to get into your journey and everything. Before we touch on that, though, could you start out by just explaining to our new listeners what the main focus of a video coordinator at the D1 level is and how that's important to the coaching staff?
Yeah, so for a video coordinator, I think the main focus is how can we best utilize film to help our team? And so number one being, every team has something they emphasize. So how can we use film to show the team what they're good at and what we're emphasizing, areas they can improve? Also player development. Some assistants have certain things they do. How can we show our guys, hey, here's where you're progressing in this area? Same kind of thing. Here's how you can improve in this area. Third being recruiting, how certain guys fit, their style of play, our style of play, and how that's going to work together. And then the fourth thing I'd say is scouting. Scouting is a huge, huge thing we do. We're paired with different assistants, different eds we'll put together and get our game plans ready to go.
What's your day like right now in the off season where, of course, the college basketball off season has rapidly changed so much with the transfer portal and NIL and all these other things? So from your vantage point, what's it like on the day-to-day right now?
Yeah, right now it's kind of a downtime for us. Transfer portal wasn't too crazy. We lost Jamal Shed. He's in the NBA draft process right now, and so had to fill that spot and got Milo Suzan from Oklahoma. And so right now it's kind of a lot of personal study. Put together a lot of end-of-year playbooks for our offense, things we emphasize defensively, different eds will show in the upcoming season. But now it's kind of I'm researching different teams and how I can take stuff from them, maybe that we can use here, whether it be the NBA, European ball. So a lot of just studying film right now.
During the season, take us through briefly what your day-to-day is like.
Yeah, so I'll go through two different scenarios. So let's say one's a game day, one's just a regular day. So preseason, get in the office early. I get a lift in with some of the coaches on staff, and then we'll get in about 8:30 after that. And we're going to go through film of practice the day before. Usually I'll put together an edit. Every day at 10 a.m. we have a meeting, and we'll go through the film from the day before and what we'll show the team that day. We have practice at 3 o'clock every day. And so go through practice, and sometimes we'll have film. Most of the time we'll have film in the off season, but during the year, it looks a little different where in the mornings I'll meet with the assistant I'm paired with, and he and I will go through the scout that we have, go through all of our edits, make sure we have everything ready to go through that at our 10 a.m. Meeting with Coach Sampson and the rest of the staff, and then we'll go through that stuff in practice. During a game day, same thing, go through our edits, make sure everything's in order. And then 5.5 hours before, we'll have shoot around, pregame meal, 4 hours before. And what's unique to our program is we play a staff game. And so kind of the assistants, support staff versus GAs and managers gets pretty competitive, pretty fun. We get to do that before our home games and then go play our game.
That's a pretty regimented schedule and also some really exciting stuff in there. I mean, what's it? I gotta ask you, what's it like working for Coach Sampson and being inside a program that has such a a rich history and stuff like that? I mean, having a staff game, that just sounds like so much fun and like something you would every school has, especially the big schools. I feel like all have these things they do individually. So yeah, what's that like?
Man, it's great working for Coach Sampson. He's, in my opinion, the best coach in the country. his experience and the things that he emphasizes on a daily basis is awesome for me to just soak in every day. It seems like every staff meeting, there's something new I can take away from, something he says, something his son, Coach Kelvin Sampson, one of our assistants, says. The staff here is incredible, and kind of alluding to what you're saying is it's a family. And so it's awesome to come every day and learn from these guys. I think we have the best staff in the country as well. And so getting to work with them every day it's been great.
Now that we know more about where you are today, I want to take it back to the beginning. Take people through your journey, Matthew. How did you get into basketball? How did you get to Houston? Know that it's a place you spent a lot of time at. Take us through it.
Yeah, so kind of a cool story. I came to the University of Houston as an engineering major, and played 1 year of high school basketball. But I always loved the game, and so my freshman and sophomore year, I would go to the rec center every day and play. I loved it. I didn't know necessarily how to use that love for the game, but at the end of my sophomore year, I was good friends with a guy who's actually on staff now. His name is Daniel Hickson. He was a manager at the time, and I knew I didn't want to be an engineer, and so I prayed a lot on it and asked God, show me where you want me. And a few weeks later, there was a Twitter posting about being a manager, and so seeing that and knowing Daniel Hickson, I was like, let's do it. I love basketball. Let's just see where this goes. And so reached out to the video coordinator and stepped on as a student manager and fell in love with it and been here ever since.
Who have some of your mentors been along the way? I mean, you mentioned Daniel. Who are some of the other coaches and people in the space that have helped you get to where you are?
Yeah, so number one being Casey Beard. He was the video coordinator at the time, and getting to learn under him has been instrumental. He's an incredible coach, incredible basketball mind, incredible person, has done a great job in mentoring me throughout these years. Charles Allen taught me sports code. He's in the NBA now with the Sacramento Kings. Jordan Walker, those guys were really instrumental in helping me learn video. And Mikhail McLean has been awesome for me. I worked with them here at Houston, went to Lamar University for a year where I didn't know anybody, and he took me under his wing there. Showed me what it's like to be a good husband, and father to his kids, got to go to his house and enjoy some meals together. And those guys have really shaped me into the young coach that I am right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you mentioned how you reached out, you saw a Twitter post, you reached out, started as a student manager. Some people, people will see that, right? And they'll see it on LinkedIn or whatever and be like, wow, like he went from this and then to a video coordinator and all of that. What have some of the challenges been? Because we know it's never as simple as just getting from point A to point B. What have some of the challenges been along the way, and what's your advice to people, who are student managers or are video coordinators and want to move up or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, so being a student manager and not being a former player is a little different. Your path's different. One of the first things KC said to us in my first manager meeting was, "You're going to get out of this what you put into it, and don't be afraid to ask, people around for help." And so that was the first thing I did. I came up to the third floor and asked just the assistants if they needed help. I came back to the film room, and Charles Allen, who was the assistant video at the time, asked if he needed help. He said, "I don't, but you can watch me do sports code and start learning from there." So he taught me that way. That was kind of my foot into the video room, was that way. And once I knew this is where God had called me, I was going to put everything into it. And so for me, I was up here all day trying to learn and get as much knowledge and information as I could to set myself up for hopefully what turned out to be a assistant video spot.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given along the way by a coach, colleague, etc., that's helped you get to that spot?
Yeah, kind of what I was saying with that manager meeting, you're going to get out what you put into it. And it's a simple statement, it's said a lot, but it's true. And if you work as hard as you can towards a goal, you're going to achieve it in some form or fashion down the line.
What's your best piece of advice for somebody that's trying to break into the basketball industry?
Yeah, so Coach Sampson has a saying he says all the time, your best ability is your dependability. And so for student managers around here is being available, coming in and rebounding early in the morning, in the afternoon, late at night, just being around. The more you're around, the more people see you, the more people will start to entrust you with certain things. And so I would say that would be my number one advice I give to people is just be dependable and be available.
Transitioning to our sponsor, want to ask you about Hudl and just kind of ask you how the service helps you in your role and what specific products you use.
Yeah, Hudl is instrumental to what we do. Every day I'm in sports code, working through sorters, different timelines and packages. And big thing we use is Hudl Exchange, which has been awesome for us to take out the coding aspect and save us some time with scouts. And so we use Exchange almost every day during the season, downloading different teams' games and who they're playing. But sports code super instrumental to what we do.
What do you think is the best way to network in this business? And we always clarify when you ask our guests this. A lot of people have stories of just cold messaging people on LinkedIn and such. Your story isn't really that. You know, you were at school and used your network there. So, what would be if you had to pinpoint one thing in terms of growing that network in an organic way outside of just cold messaging people?
Yeah, so a lot of people reach out to us that want to be GAs. And so my advice for that specifically would be to make the relationship genuine. Try and go see people at events. I think the biggest thing for college basketball is obviously Final Four. And so going to the Final Four, making connections with the guys you've been talking to, with some friends that you've had in the business. The other one would be NBA Summer League. That's a huge one where you can go and connect with different people. And then if you're trying to be a grad assistant in the following season at certain schools, my advice would be to try and go set up to see practice, try to go see a game. The more face-to-face contact you can get, I think the better, just so coaches start to recognize you and get comfortable and get a feel for you. And so my advice would try to be seen as much as you can and keep the relationships genuine.
For all of the positives that are in this industry, what do you think? Because obviously nothing in life or career or anything else is always just point A to point B with no adversity, right? So for somebody that isn't in it yet, but that like says they want to or is taking the steps to be in it, what's something that you think they should know before they really go all in on the profession?
That's a good question. Number one thing would be sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot of different things. I remember my first manager meeting. Casey stood up and said, "You're going to miss weddings, you're going to miss parties, you're going to miss friends' trips and things like that." And at the time, you're like, "Okay, yeah," but it's true. If you want to be in this profession, it's going to require a lot of sacrifice. But with all the positives, it's worth it. And to me, I'm just trying to be faithful to the call that God's given me, and so the sacrifice just it makes it a little bit easier.
Speaking of that sacrifice, man, what's your why? What keeps you going?
Yeah, another good question. So I have this bracelet. It says I have a purpose. One of our former players, Galen Robinson, has a brand called Purposeful. And for me, it helps remind me of my why. God got me into this sport. God's given me this job, this platform. And so for me, it's to serve him and love people well as best I can. I think in this business, the best part's the relationships. And that adds into the why. Like relationship with guys like Jamal Shed, Jawan Roberts, Marcus Sasser, Quentin Grimes, Galen Robinson. It's awesome. And not just on a personal level, but getting to see them grow. See Marcus Sasser go from the 366th ranked prospect to a first round pick. Jamal Shed not playing his freshman year to winning Big 12 Player of the Year. And so getting to see the growth in the student athletes and the guys you have relationships with, it's been great. It's awesome.
Matthew, you've been really generous with your time. We appreciate it. Want to get into a couple bonus questions, if you don't mind, before we get out of here. The first one I got for you is, what is the best part of working for a big D1 program like Houston?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think here, the best thing is it's a family. You're getting to laugh, joke around with some of your closest friends that you consider brothers, but also be able to take seriously and develop game plans and strategize every day and think of ways of how can we get better. How can we help our guys be the best they can be? But knowing that the relationships around you are so genuine, I think a cool thing that not a lot of people know is when I was at Lamar University for a year, there wasn't a day that went by where somebody from University of Houston didn't talk to me or reach out to me. And I think that just speaks to how genuine everyone here is. And so it's a family. And I think that's the best part of being a part of this team specifically.
I got a curveball for you. If you weren't in basketball, what do you think you'd be doing? I know you were an engineering student. Is it something like that? Like what's the what would Matthew be up to?
And I can't imagine something else. My freshman and sophomore summers, I worked different camps, one student life camp and one Pine Cove camps here in Texas. I loved it. I love camp ministry. I love what they're about. And so if I went in basketball, I could probably see myself doing something with camp in some sort of aspect.
Any other hobbies that you got like when you're outside of the gym? Or are you just a gym rat? And I don't, there's no shame in saying that you're a gym rat because that's how I was growing up. I would literally like go to school, go to the 24-hour fitness if I didn't have practice. If I did have practice, literally go to practice, go in the gym before school in the mornings. So there's no shame in saying that, but I want to give you the floor if there is something else.
Uh, I mean, I like playing a lot of different sports outside when I can, pickleball, volleyball, some basketball leagues, softball, anything sports related, I'll do it. I like being outside. I do watch film at night when I get home. It's kind of part of my routine before I go to sleep. Love doing that. But anything outdoors, man, I love doing.
Last thing that I'll ask you is long term, what's your goal? Do you want to be a head coach? Do you want to stay in college, go to the NBA? Like what's the long term goal for you?
Yeah, long-term goal for me would be to be a head coach. Next immediate goal would be to be an assistant coach, and just being able to recruit, being able to be on the floor, and getting to develop those relationships more and more with those guys. But long term would definitely to be a head coach.
Absolutely. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you dishing out some advice and giving the people some more details on your journey, man.
Yeah, no problem. It's fun.
Absolutely. Once again, people, that is Matthew McDonald from the University of Houston. Once again, this is University of Hoops presented by Hudl, the show that's giving you an inside look at the people making everything happen on your favorite basketball team. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you next week with another episode.